Fields sent on their way in the San Rafael, came away to a beautiful beginning. Individualist goes to the early lead. Mr. Frisky immediately sprints up to take the lead. Tight Spot being forced to go a little wide into the turn, then Express it. Bala Cove is very ranked down at the rail. Defeat Pink Eye had to sit down in the saddle twice there. He's back 4 off her. Now there goes Land Rush pulling his way up 4th on a tight hold under Angel Cadero. Express it outside of him and kept his cool trails. 3/4 of a mile to go. Gary Stevens and Mr. Frisky set a fast pace up there, but he's got his ears pricked. He's doing it easy. Arlington 3/4 back comes Tight Spot racing in second. Outside of him comes Land Rush, 3 lengths off Mr. Frisky. Individualist at the rail. Express it is now in 5th. He's 5 off them. Then it's another 4 back to Bala Cove and kept his cool. A half mile left to go. Mr. Frisky still cocked his ears, going strongly, leads at a length and a half. Racing in second is Tight Spot. Angel Cadero now asks Land Rush to go up and put pressure on him, and these 3 have drawn clear as they come to the 5/16 pole. Mr. Frisky at the rail. Tight Spot between horses and Land Rush on the outside, now 3 lengths back. 1/4 of a mile to go, and Mr. Frisky doesn't even look like he's trying out here. He's still got his ears cocked. He's full of run. Now he's asked to run. Does he have something extra left? He's run a big one so far, and he's finding more. Tight Spot and Land Rush, but Mr. Frisky is still full of run with a 1/16 of a mile to go, and he takes his record to 15 for 15. He's on his way to the Santa Anita Derby. Mr. Frisky, so impressive. Tight Spot was second. Land Rush finished third. Then we come back to kept his cool. Bala Cove never fired a yard today. Individual look like he's trying out here. He's still got his ears cocked. He's full of run. Now he's asked to run. Does he have something extra left? He's run a big one so far, and he's finding more. Tight Spot and Land Rush, but Mr. Frisky is still full of run with a 1/16 of a mile to go, and he takes his record to 15 for 15. He's on his way to the Santa Anita Derby. Mr. Frisky, so impressive. Tight Spot was second.
We're ready for the start of the Jim Beam 1990. And they're off. And toward the inside, that's Bright again. On the outside, it's Private School moving up. Out in the middle of the racetrack, Tight Spot now passing the stands for the first time. Private School with Scott Miller taking the lead by a head. Bright again and Craig Perret at the rail moves up, and those 2 now match strides, with Tight Spot caught 3rd on the outside and wide. 7 Spades between horses 4th. Pat Day has Summer Squall at the rail, 5th, now moving up to 4th, but saving ground. Now around the turn, moving to the backstretch. Bright again leads by a half. Private School 2nd. Tight Spot on the outside 3rd. Summer Squall, the favorite at the rail, is 4th behind horses. 2 back, 7 Spades 4th. Make that 5th by a head. On the outside, that's Fighting Fantasy. At the rail, it's Sluky. Then comes Top Snob, a gap of 2, and Power Lunch. On the outside, yonder is the trailer, 10th and last, about 10 lengths off the lead. Back on the front end, Bright again has the lead now by half a length. Tight Spot on the outside is right there, second, 3/4 of a length. And at the rail, it's Summer Squall 3rd. Just a length and a half off the leader. Fighting Fantasy has moved up into 4th position along the inside. Sluky, and Private School drops back. The half in 46 and 3/3/4 in 111 and 2. Midway on the turn. Bright again holding strong. On the inside, Summer Squall looks for racing room. Tight Spot is next, and Fighting Fantasy on the outside is not gaining. Power Lunch is moving up, and here comes Yonder, finding room along the inside, and now 4th and flying. At the top of the stretch, Summer Squall takes command on the outside, but Bright again battles back. Those 2 inside the 8th pole, and down the stretch they come. Summer Squall takes command, with Pat Day aboard, now pulling away by 2. Bright again is second, and the others are far back. Here's the finish of the Jim Beam. Summer Squall by 2.5.
Trevor, and here's how the field shapes up at the moment. Here are the odds on the right. The jockeys underneath the horse's name. We have Cartagena, who is a filly, at 5-1, and it's all Greek to me at 4-1. The favorite now has become Tight Spot, which was the early morning favorite, but just now has become that here at the track. And 3-1 for Falago, who would be a very interesting race here. And let's look at some of the contenders, Trevor.
this afternoon.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there are some of the contenders here in this 11th running of the Arlington Million. We're moments away from...
There's Falago going in, one from the outside, and the big long shot from England. 100, just a one-time winner going in. He's loaded in, and it looks like he's set for a start. Field for the Arlington Million now sent on their way, and going to the early lead is Julie Crone with Shannon Blanc. On the outside of her, Tight Spot. Came out a little awkward in the white cap, and Tight Spot running up alongside of Shannon Blanc, who's going to carry Tight Spot wide. Down at the rail, the Canadian champion is Vestier, is smartly placed in third. And here's the filly, Cartagena, in the green colours in fourth down at the rail. They're going very, very slow early on. And behind that, we have Al Hanib and It's All Greek to Me. The two stable companions are 5 lengths off the leaders. Then it's Hundra and Dr. Root. Falago in the red colours is back second last, and he's 8 lengths off them. And the long shot, Sagas's Choice is last, 15 lengths off the lead. They head towards the three-quarter pole, and Julie Crone has the long shot. Shannon Blanc setting the pace. But there's Lafitte Penkai in the white cap on Tight Spot, just waiting to pounce on that leader when he's good and ready up there. His Vestier is scraping paint in third. Cartagena is going along comfortably enough in fourth position, 5 lengths off the leaders. Kentasomo has Al Hanib in fifth position. They've got 7 lengths to make up. Another 2 back to It's All Greek to Me and Dr. Roots. Fat Valenzuela and Falago in the red colours will start to move into the screen on the outside. They're about 10 lengths off the lead as they pass the half-mile pole. And then it's Sagas's Choice and Hundra, the 2 long shots trailing the Million field. 3/8 of a mile left to go. Still the long shot. Shannon Blanc taking them along. Tight Spot is right there in second. Cartagena, the filly, running a good one in third. Is Vestier on the outside of her. Then Al Hanib on the outside, Falago. It's All Greek to Me, not firing, he's last. They come to the top of the lane, and now the running is really going to start in the Million. Shannon Blanc at the rail. Lafitte Penkai is starting to niggle a Tight Spot in the white cap now. And here comes Tight Spot to take on Shannon Blanc. At the rail, Cartagena, the South American, Al Hanib in the orange colours. He's Vestier there, but it's down to Tight Spot, Al Hanib and Shannon Blanc. Tight Spot between horses and Lafitte Penkai. Here's Cartagena coming at the rail. Cartagena, Tight Spot, Al Hanib. Tight Spot, Al Hanib at the wire. Tight Spot has won the Million by a head to Al Hanib and Cartagena. What a run from Shannon Blanc in fourth. Dr. Roots came running on late, and then came his Vestier. It's All Greek to Me. I want to tell you, he probably still is the greatest jockey in the world, and I would say categorically the greatest jockey when it comes to a photo finish like that. There is still no number in the board, but it looked like Tight Spot won it. Al Hanib a head back second, and what a run from Cartagena, the Irish-bred filly. She was right there at the rail, beaten about a neck in third position. The fractions there, they went to half in 47 and 3, 111 and 1 for the three-quarters, and the final time a very respectable 159 and 2/5. Jack?
All right, Trevor, thank you very much. There you're looking at Tight Spot. He is now 8 for 8. If this is unofficial results, of course, and we'll have the official results for you in a moment. And a rousing finish. It's 11th Arlington Million, ridden by Lafitte Penkai Jr., and if it holds up, of course, his second win here. Ron McAnally, the trainer's third. Unofficial Tight Spot, Al Hanib from Argentina, and Cartagena, the filly, bred in Ireland and raced in France, and she had a little trouble on the rail. Here's the stretch run here, and it gets very, very crowded. Julie Crone on Shannon Blanc, a 30-to-1 shot, almost stole the whole thing. She's still on the lead here, but here come from behind boys, going to make it very tough on everybody. Against the rail there in the green is Cartagena. And what a cavalry charge it is. So unofficially
for the Breeders' Cup Mile, 1 mile on the turf. Priolo at 6-1. In Excess hasn't run on the turf for a while, December of last year, but the fans think he can do it. 2-1 right now on In Excess, and he is the favorite. Tight Spot, who has never lost on the grass, the Ron McAnally trainee's second choice at 3-1. That's the way.
Should trainer Bruce Jackson's In Excess win the Breeders' Cup Mile, he could be Horse of the Year. Although this Irish bred is 6 for 12 lifetime in the grass, In Excess hasn't raced in a turf course in nearly a year. This last-minute change back to the turf has added another element of early speed to a race where pace is often the deciding factor. Scan has never even tried the turf, but students of racing bloodlines believe the 3-year-old will love the lawn. Trainer Scotty Schulhofer hopes they're right.
On his dam side, it's all of it is turf. and worked him in Saratoga on the turf. He handled it. He took to it like a duck does the water. And he actually, I worked him at Belmont last week, and Jose Santos worked him, and he thought he actually moved better on the turf than he did on the dirt.
There are no doubts.
Good jolt to a solid surface will make it spread a little. All right, the horses are on the track for the Breeders' Cup Mile, sponsored by Toyota. Number 1, Shada Yeed, owned by Sheikh Hamdan Al Maktoum, Dubai's Minister of Finance, and one of the 4 brothers who have changed the face of the thoroughbred industry over the last 10 years. Now the world's foremost owners and breeders. This is a 3-year-old filly, won the classic English 1,000 Guineas. Number 2, Danseuse de Soir, another 3-year-old European-trained filly who won the French 1,000 Guineas. Number 3 is Opening Verse, who was 7th in the Classic last year. Opening Verse is owned by Alan Paulson, who worked his way up from mechanic to pilot to aircraft designer to the chairmanship of Gulfstream Aerospace. Number 4, Priolo, was 3rd in the mile last year, beaten just a length by Royal Academy and ridden by Freddie Head, who twice won a Breeders' Cup on Miesk. Number 5 is Scan, owned by 78-year-old William Hagen Perry, trained by 65-year-old Scotty Schulhofer. And Scan has been very good lately, but on the main track, this is his first race on turf. Number 6 is Star of Cozine, Clover Racing Stable, the name of the partnership, headed by former racing writer Barry Irwin and newspaper handicapper Jeff Siegel. They put up $120,000 to supplement this colt to the race. He's won 3 of 4 since trying the turf. Number 7, In Excess, the current leader for Horse of the Year honors after winning 4 straight big New York Stakes. Trainer Bruce Jackson wrestled all week with a decision whether to run in the Classic or the Mile. He chose the Mile. He's not run on grass since last December, but has 6 wins in 12 lifetime turf races. Number 8, Kuyonga. This is the 3-year-old filly that threw the shoe, based in Ireland, though owned by a Japanese and named for an Australian turf course. Number 9, Tight Spot, has a shot at Horse of the Year. You can't fault his record. He's a perfect 8 for 8 on turf, 5 of those races this year. Has early speed and Lafitte Pinkai. Number 10 is Second Set. Richard Duchessois, the owner, chairman of Arlington International Racecourse in Chicago. This colt has never raced there, though. In fact, all 5 of his races have been in England. Number 11 is Polar Falcon, another European invader trained by John Hammond, ridden by American Cash Asmussen, who's been the leading rider in France 5 times. Number 12, Val de Bois, raced in France last year, but in the U.S. under the care of Bobby Frankel in 1991. Comes from off the pace, had a rough trip at Santa Anita in his last start. Number 13, Jolie's Halo, one of the leaders in the new American Championship Racing Series early in the year, racing mostly on dirt. He hasn't won since March. He is 2 of 3 on the grass. And number 14 is Sultry Song, bred and owned by Charlotte and John Weber's Live Oak Plantation of Ocala, Florida. The colt winless in 2 starts on the grass. And that's the field for the mile. Greg McCarron, what do they look like warming up?
Well, Tom, I'll tell you a little something about Shahadid. She's usually a little high-strung in the paddock and in the post parade. So all week long, they've been taking her out with the lead pony to try to settle it down some, and it seems to have worked a little. Even though she was high-strung in the paddock, she seemed to be going pretty...
Tom Durkin. Second set now taking his place in the starting gate, and on the far outside, Polar Falcon. Exceptionally strong field of milers this year, including 2 American Horse of the Year candidates. And they're off. In Excess was off a beat slow, and Shada Yeed also missed the break toward the inside. It's the French filly, Danseuse de Soir. In Excess is recovered now, and he's coming up after the lead, and Jolie's Halo. So it will be In Excess who leads the way. He wins the race into the first turn, pushed all the way by Jolie's Halo. Danseuse de Soir is right there. Shada Yeed is ranked toward the inside. Willie Carson doing his best to keep her inside. Kuyunga, the Irish filly, is 3 wide, opening first, now moving
moves into 4th, Kayunga's 5th, and then Shada Yeed is a rank 6th. And on the outside, it's Tight Spot. He's 7th, and now he's called on for run. He's moving up now within 5 lengths of the lead. Second set is following his move. He's racing in 7th. Sultry Song whipping steadily on the outside. Priolo is down inside. Horse is now about 8 lengths from the front. Then Star of Cozine. Scan is near the back of the pack along with Val Dubois. Polar Falcon is still unhurried. The bulky field moving for the far turn. The quarter 24 flat, the half in 48 flat. It is In Excess. Tight Spot confronts him now. Tight Spot and In Excess, and those two, and Jolie's Halo is mixing up in between them. And the duel intensifies now as they round the far turn. In Excess bracing all out for the challenge. Tight Spot is right there. Jolie's Halo still fighting it out. Densou's Dessois looking for a seam to run through toward the inside. Opening Verse is coming with his run now. Chaudier looking for running room. Priolo's in behind a wall of horses. Val Dubois passing the furlong pole. Opening Verse has now taken the lead. And Densou's Dessois moves through toward the inside. A late charge from Star of Cozine down to the wire now. Opening Verse. Yes, he pulls off the upset. And it's close for
second. Star of Cozine or Val Dubois. And the two favorites here fail in the stretch, weakening each other with a duel around the far turn. And it is Opening Verse under a rousing ride here by Pat Valenzuela, who pulls the upset off here at 25-1.
25-1 on Opening Verse in the colors of Alan Paulson and trained by Richard Lundy. This is a Kentucky-bred colt, bred in Kentucky by Jacques Wimpheimer, sired by the Minstrel, who was champion on the grass in Europe. Opening Verse set a course record at Churchill Downs this spring, winning the Early Times Turf Classic here. He loves this turf course, out in the middle of it here and holding off the late chargers. Opening Verse, the long shot winner of the Breeders' Cup Mile. Here's our photo finish. Opening Verse gets there just over a length, tight for second. And it appears, Val Dubois just nosing out Star of Cozine. That's unofficial on our NBC photo finish. Pat Valenzuela on Opening Verse. Another upset at the Breeders' Cup, this time in the mile. And as you said, Tom, In Excess and Tight Spot sort of cooked each other at this point.
And here is In Excess on the inside, Tight Spot right there on the outside, and those two dueled each other into the feet. It was that just off-the-pace style for Opening Verse that set up the victory here. He might not be Horse of the Year, but he's the horse for the course. The last time he won was here at Churchill Downs, setting a course record. And here he comes right on the outside. Pat Valenzuela getting after him. You can see some of the others will gain some ground at the end, but they're just passing tired horses. And the two tiredest of them all were In Excess and Tight Spot. Drifting out just a little bit, but that was okay. He got home clear and was very tight indeed for the second spot. Dan?
Cup Mile, Opening Verse at 25-1. Val Dubois, Star of Cozine. And as you see, Tight Spot losing for the first time on turf, finishing 10th, and In Excess coming home in the 9th position. Here's the morning line now for the next race, which is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And it's been wide open in America and far.
Leading the post parade for the San Francisco Mile is Tight Spot, the favorite for the event, and deservedly so. Most would agree. Tight Spot, bred in Kentucky by Vern Winchell, raced by VHW Stable, Anderson, Witham et al., trained by Ron McAnally, Richard Lewis, the substitute trainer, and Lafitte Pinkeye Jr. takes the ride. Number 2, Due to the King, bred in California by the owner Bonnie Seltzer, trained by Jim Dotson, assistant trainer Ruth Piper. Ron Hansen is in the irons. Number 3, Eternity Star, bred in Kentucky by Lucy Young Raspoli Trust Incorporated, raced by Peter Wall, prepared by Bobby Frankel, ridden by Gary Stevens. Number 4, 49er Days, bred in Kentucky by Woodcrest, owned by Constantine Glickman Johnson et al., conditioned by Roger Stein, Bob Janot, the substitute trainer. Aboard today is Ron Warren Jr. Number 5, Super May, bred by Elmendorf Farm Incorporated of Kentucky, raced by Jack Kent Cook, trained by Daniel M. Smithwick Jr. Danny Sorensen, is the rider. Number 6, Ledger Cat, bred in Argentina by Harris Rosa del Sur, raced by Edward Allred and R.D. Hubbard, trained by Richard Mandela, ridden by Cory Nakatani. In the number 7 saddle cloth, French 75, bred in California by Rowan and Whitney, raced by Gano Stable, trained by Jack Van Berg, Casey Doyle, the substitute trainer. Gary Boulanger is up. Number 8, Bistro Garden, bred by Silver Star Stable and Gilbert in Florida, raced by Silver Star Stable and Sid Craig, trained by Tom Bunn Jr., Dan White the substitute, and Chris McCarron will ride. Number 9, Notorious Pleasure, bred by Bramble and Bucci in Florida, owned by Robert, Karen, Mark, Michael and Richard Levy, trained by Darryl Vienna, and to be partnered by Russell Bays. An outstanding field of 9. Headed towards the starting point. Post time for the mile is in 7 minutes from now. Bistro Garden, the second last up. Notorious Pleasure completes the line. All set. Racing. Super May and 49er Days, the two first into stride. Tight Spot begins cleanly due to the Kinger showing up in the early stages. Notorious Pleasure crossing over from a wide berth in search of the lead, followed by Eternity Star. Not a great deal of pace on early. Bistro Garden running third last as they leave the stretch, clear of Ledger Cat and French 75. Pink Eye hustles Tight Spot forward, and with 3/4 of a mile to go, it's the favourite taking charge. He leads up the side by 3/4 of a length. 49er Days is second, followed by Notorious Pleasure, trapped 3 wide due to the King fourth on the rail. 2 lengths off in an evenly run race is Super May. Bistro Garden in close attendance next. A length to French 75 around Ledger Cat, and Stevens allowing Eternity Star plenty of time to find his feet. He's 2.5 lengths off at the tail of the field. Short of half a mile to go. Tight Spot dictating terms by just over a length. The grey 49er Days a clear second, followed by Due to the King, Notorious Pleasure. Here's McCarron getting busy on Bistro Garden. He works him around the field up to third now. Next is Super May as they swing down the side. French 75 is going forward, followed by Ledger Cat, and Eternity Star is last with lots of work to do. At the quarter pole, Tight Spot leads by a neck to 49er Days. Notorious Pleasure is pushing Bistro Garden out of the way. Then Due to the King, Super May and French 75. Tight Spot just in front. He's in a bit of strife. 49er Days is running a valiant race, and Notorious Pleasure is trying to come at the pair. Tight Spot just in front from 49er Days. On the outside, Notorious Pleasure. Tight Spot clinging on desperately, drawing on immense reserves of intestinal fortitude. Tight Spot wins the mile from either Notorious Pleasure or 49er Days. Then coming Super May, Eternity Star and Ledger Cat, clear of Bistro Garden who faded. At the head of the others, French 75, and last of all is Due to the King. By Ledger Cat, and Eternity Star is last with lots of work to do. At the quarter pole, Tight Spot leads by a neck to 49er Days. Notorious Pleasure is pushing Bistro Garden out of the way. Then Due to the King, Super May and French 75. Tight Spot just in front. He's in a bit of strife. 49er Days is running a valiant race, and Notorious Pleasure is trying to come at the pair. Tight Spot just in front from 49er Days. On the outside, Notorious Pleasure. Tight Spot clinging on desperately, drawing on immense reserves of intestinal fortitude. Tight Spot wins the mile from either Notorious Pleasure or 49er Days. Then coming Super May, Eternity Star and Ledger Cat, clear of Bistro Garden who faded. At the head of the others, French 75, and last of all is Due to the King. Tight Spot returns victorious after the running of the San Francisco Mile. A 5-year-old bay horse by His Majesty from Premium Win, bred in Kentucky by Vern Winchell, raced by VHW Stable, Anderson, Witham et al., trained by Ron McAnally, Richard Lewis, the substitute trainer, winning jockey Lafitte Pincaid Jr.